Good morning, everybody. I'm really happy to have the opportunity to talk today in front of you, and I really want to thank the organizers, both the Numeum Association, but also Saman for setting that up. The event is dedicated to the priorities of the French presidency of the European Union, which will begin next January, and which will be, I think, very important from a different point of view. We have basically two main priorities as far as digital is concerned, which are quite logical. We want to be able to walk on both legs, both on innovation and on regulation. I'll begin with innovation because I do think, and I think the French presidency is laying the emphasis on the fact that being able to catch up with the digital world as far as innovation is concerned is and must be a priority for the European Union. What we have seen over the past decades is that we are in a world, the digital world, where the leader is setting the standards. And the problem in Europe is obviously that we have to be able to answer to the digital challenges as far as regulation is concerned. And this is heavily needed from a democratic and an economic point of view. But a problem that we're having in Europe is that in a world, I was saying, where the leader is setting, or the leader are setting the standards, there are no European leaders, or almost no European leaders in the digital world. If you take the 10 biggest market capitalization of the world, there are 8 out of 10 which are tech companies, 6 out of 10 which did not exist 25 years ago, and 0 out of 10 which are European. And I do believe that this is one of the main issues that we have to be able to enter to in the coming years for many reasons, economic reasons, but starting from there, technological sovereignty and sheer sovereignty for itself. We have to be able to build our own independence as far as technology is concerned, but also democratic issues. I was mentioning that if we want European value to prevail and to be able to be sustainable at the long term on the global scene, we need European champions to emerge in the coming weeks. So that is why we will be laying the emphasis on being able to accelerate as far as the startup ecosystem is concerned. The French President Emmanuel Macron had the opportunity a few months ago to take the Scale Up Europe initiative, which is focusing on talent and innovation, on investment and especially private investment, on deep tech and on public buying. And we want to be able to accelerate on those issues in the coming months. There is also the IPCI initiatives as far as battery is concerned, as far as hydrogen is concerned, as far as digital health is concerned. And we want to be able to structure and to help the European effort to come together in order to be at the right critical size in order to be able to answer to the economic challenges. Those are economic challenges, but also societal challenges. I want to say and quote the fact here that if we want to be able to answer to all the challenges that are facing our societies, climate change and urgency as far as environmental transition is concerned, aging populations, food and problems with culture and so on, we need more innovation and less innovation. This is why we want to lay the emphasis on innovation at first. On the second hand, there is regulation, which is, I said, heavily needed. And we've seen that over the past decade, the societal problems that we have been facing, the challenge and the rising tension that we've seen in the whole Western world, not only in Europe, but especially in Europe, with the Brexit, with the Yellow Vest movement in France, with the rise of extremes left and right all over Europe, is to some extent partly due to a doubt that our population, our middle classes have on digital and on technology. So we have to be able to ensure our population that the spread of the digital world with social networks, with all the tools that we are using, with artificial intelligence, with quantum computing, with life science, the intrication between life science and digital, is still onboarding general interest purpose within the whole deal. And this is that tension and that doubt that we have to be able to answer on, to answer to in the coming months. This is why the question of regulation will be at the heart of the French presidency, with at first two major texts that are under discussion: Digital Services Act and Digital Market Act. We had a historical day last week with Commissioner Breton and Vice President Vestager, with the Council closing the deal and having an agreement on general orientation on the DSA and DMA, and we do believe that there are parallel discussions on those texts. We hope that the Parliament will come to an agreement in the coming weeks so that we will be able to begin the trialogue under the French presidency, and let's hope that we can close the trialogue under the French presidency. Those are probably the two most important texts as far as regulation is concerned for the internet over the past decades, perhaps in history. This is why we want to be able to keep the momentum. There is a huge momentum for regulation. The latest episode were the revelation by Frances Haugen, but everybody has the feeling that there is an urgency to better regulate the internet and to input some general interest in the past and in the way the internet has been developing over the past years. There are also other very important texts that are under discussion. I want to mention two of them, especially the AI Act, which has been presented by the Commission a few months ago, which was a priority of the Slovenian presidency. France is really willing to be able to make as much progress as possible with two priorities we think that should be really important. The first one is the unicity of enforcement of that regulation, but also the sandbox framework that should be preserved within the regulation in order to be able to have at the same time regulation, but also a capacity to innovate for SMEs. But the same way we had a very interesting discussion at the international level with the global partnership on artificial intelligence, we do believe that we need to input more regulation at the heart of technology, and the AI Act will be important for that. Second regulation that I want to tackle is the NIS2 Directive, which is completely different, but not less urgent to some extent. We've seen the explosion of cyber attacks and ransomwares over the past years, especially during the pandemics. It's now tackling public institutions, hospitals, individuals, SMEs, and so on and so on. We need to rise the level of preparation of the whole Europe, and NIS2 directive can be very instrumental to that. As you can see, there is a whole scope of discussion. There are a lot of debates, but it's quite logical. Digital is completely changing our world, disrupting the world we've been living in the past decades. There are a lot of challenges, but we want to be at the right level of answer. This will be the heart of the French presidency. This will be one of the main issues that the French presidency wants to make progress with in the 6 coming months. Obviously, this won't be the end of the discussion, but we have a historical opportunity to set a very important milestone.